G'day, folks. Welcome to an EcoFarmers Discovery, the audiobook companion podcast. Join Ewan Campbell as he takes a deep dive into his book, uncovering all the secrets of soil health, biology, and true farm independence. You can listen along to his book on Spotify or download from Audible, and then catch us here as we deep dive into the events of each chapter. We're now up to Chapter 2. Let's go. So, Ewan, let's get into Chapter 2, Time to Fly. This is a big one, leaving the nest, right? For anyone as they get up and leave home. Let's start with that. Learning to fly a plane at age 20 while running the dairy farm. Did you feel like a high flyer, or were you just a lad having a go?
Well, again, it was normal for us, right? Like, the first aeroplane on the farm was top dresser, and so we got used to having that around. Dad had learned to fly in the 60s, and so, you know, people flew aircraft. I think Dad was probably the only one in Elster that flew aircraft, but for us that was normal. It was not abnormal. And in 1974, they stretched themselves and bought a brand new airplane. So I was 10 years old at that stage, and that's what you folks did. Well, they bought airplanes while other people bought new cars.
Fascinating, man. I wish I'd grown up with folks that bought airplanes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it was pretty cool, I suppose. But, you know, we just didn't do anything like anyone else did. We ended up, you know, we bought an airplane to get to a holiday destination called Great Barrier Island, you know. So, like,
right.
And, you know, like, these things were simple. I remember they bought the section at Great Barrier for $600. They bought the airplane for $17,000.
Wow.
Our brand new car at that stage was 8 to 10. So it wasn't out the gate. It was just like, there was, okay, all right. And it's just what our normality was. So we just got on and did it. So the airplane was there. I enjoyed flying. I had the opportunity to learn to fly. I was making some money, zoom across the road, jump the plane, go and learn to fly. And there was some other benefits too, because the instructor was coming on a Saturday morning from Hamilton. Quite often I would fly over and pick him up with the aircraft and bring him back. So I got the first part of flying was for free.
Yeah.
So
you'd fly over on your own?
Yes. Well, once you got to a certain point past that you were allowed to do solo instruction, you'd ring up the instructor and say, is the weather okay? And I can come over and he'd give you that's cool. Thumbs up and away you go.
So you do that at both ends of the day?
Usually because at that stage it was like I was playing cricket or rugby or something like that. Right. I was always first cab off the rank to get in the plane.
So how'd the instructor get home?
Oh, someone else flew him back.
Oh,
yeah. So
and then they returned the plane.
Yeah. So basically, it was for me. It was like I wanted to be first. I'd I'd milk the cows, go across the road, go flying, and then I'd be off to rugby or whatever.
That's how I like to start my day, flying an airplane.
That's right. Yeah.
Was it hard for your parents to leave the farm in your hands at such a young age, or were you
It didn't
already
appear that way.
trusted by everything?
We're out of here.
Really? They were off?
We're out of here.
Good. We've taught him everything he knows to by age 12, so this is not a big deal.
Yeah, it's like we're out of here.
That's cool.
Just what we did, you know. Like it didn't like we were running the place. There wasn't bugger all difference really.
Does that happen that much these days?
Nah, not really. Not to the early, stage of how quick you kick into it. And I don't know why, because like it should be.
Yeah, sure.
But in that regard, it's about farming and looking after farms. And everybody in the rugby club, they're all the same.
Sure. Maybe they didn't have a plane though.
No.
Well, speaking of rugby and romance and the rugged road trip, it's a brilliant slice of small-town life, flying a plane, milking cows, playing rugby, saving for overseas. Looking back, do you think those years built your self-belief before you left the country?
Well, you say belief, self-belief. I mean,
confidence, I suppose.
Wow.
Rugby does that for a lot of people.
Yeah, look, it was just what we did,
Because you're about to take off as the chapter goes to this huge period of time overseas.
Yeah, well, I suppose that was a funny thing about it.
Because you seem to have arrived over there really confident, like especially the comments about,
Yeah, it was.
The class
It was hilarious.
system?
Yeah. Well, it was just we'd been just used to doing things. Just go and do things. And yeah, it's a real wake up call when you think, why do they do that? That's really stupid. And you just, I suppose, from growing up the way we had, and with grandparents on the farm that had all these other skills and doing all these things, and just thrust into, we'll do this, do that, whether it was livestock, machinery, whatever, observation. You just got used to doing things, and I never thought anything about it. It was something that happened with Lewis, my son, one day, and I thought, holy shit, it really does rub off on what you watch. Because I remember going, oh shit, we need to put a fence up there, and he just grabbed it and he put this fence up like it was me, and it was up and it was straight, and was just going, man.
He's onto it.
He's onto it. And that was just the observation of being around and doing these things all the time. And I think it's, it's the same thing. Just practical people doing shit, and you just get used to it.
Yeah.
And it's your normal.
Yeah, but what a time in history. I mean, I think back, you landed in London on the day of Live Aid.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
The other day it was, what is it, 40 years?
Yeah. And I mean, I still see footage of that. Freddie Mercury doing like one of his final performances. Yeah. Amazing. Did you know at the time that you were walking into a cultural moment, or that were you just sort of chasing work and fun, and that happened to be going on?
It was hilarious. The first day we got there, he met me at the tube station, and I didn't have any sort of shoes, so normal thing is put a pair of shorts on. It was quite a hot day. Wandered down the street with bare feet.
The Kiwis in town.
Yeah. Well, there was these punk rockers going down the street with these big hoodlum hairdos, and yes. I'm going, what the are these guys? But I got more looks because I had bare feet than they did for their wacko hairdos and all that.
Well, from the general public.
Yeah.
It was it's kind of a faux pas overseas, isn't it? Like, people don't realise barefoot is sort of Kiwi life at times.
Yeah, well, we were used to it, and it was just that was a culture shock.
Yeah.
What are they looking at? Going, you got no shoes on. Do I need to get some? And because your feet were hardened, it didn't matter. It was crazy in that regard. So that was the first culture shock. And Live Aid. Well, we never realised how amazing Live Aid actually turned out to be.
How many times it's been referenced in culture?
Yeah. And here I ain't rocking to town today.
And it's just it's no big deal.
Yeah,
it's just another event.
Yeah.
So tell us, with that cultural shock and cropping in the UK, tell us more about working on the English cropping farm, because, well, what surprised you most about the way they farmed and the whole don't upset the Lord class system?
They, when you talk about the upper class and the lower class, every class structure is built on their perception of their life, and that's what I've really come to grips with. What we're talking about is how you perceive things is how you're brought up. And I mean, there's a saying, was it the Jesuits say, give me a child till they're 7 and I'll show you the man.
Yeah.
And there's a fair chunk of, I can really see that, and I can actually
see the programming from day one.
Well, it's not even, it's your life. That's what makes you, and Les, there was an old guy on the farm there. He was the gardener, and he was about 65 or 70 at the time. And he had never been to London, and it's 28 minutes on the train. And he'd been to...
It's just 28 minutes away.
He'd been to Birmingham, which is about 2 hours north, to a wedding once. And he'd never been to London, So... Yeah. And he was the gardener, nice guy and all that sort of thing. And he was the one, don't upset the Lord and all that. But he was well and truly just what you would call a farm working lower class, don't do anything, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
And there was 2 other chaps on the farm too, tractor driver and a livestockman. They were just slightly more adventurous. I think they'd gone to Blackpool or, Bolton Regis or something like that.
I would have said that's unbelievable if I hadn't seen a similar story play out on Clarkson's Farm series. Where Caleb had never been out of town.
Yeah.
And so that's real.
Yes.
That lack of travel, amazing.
Yeah, well, it was, what? You haven't been there? And it's pretty hard to sort of contemplate that sort of
Yeah.
process. So, yeah, no, it was a really interesting exercise in there. I mean, the farming was quite extraordinary. I mean, the gear was amazing. I mean, we had these Mercedes tractors that you had 3 different sets of wheels and, oh, God, the gear with this, that, and the other thing, and, what we were allowed to drive and what we weren't allowed to drive. I got in big trouble one day. We were getting some rape, and I was screaming down the road with the tractor, and the trailer fell off.
Oof.
Yeah, and lo and behold, it wasn't my fault. There's these quick hitches on the that you left up on the hydraulics for picking them up, and they'd forgot to fix it, and so I'd buried it in the middle, and it's like, my name was Mud, but like it wasn't even my bloody fault. I was just told to go and get the trailer, and no one told me that it wasn't bloody right. Well, it might have been a few days, a week or so later, Terry, they had this fantastic crawler tractor, Caterpillar, and they were using it for all the ploughing and all that sort of stuff. And they had this big plough, 12 or 14 aside, and they were so proud of this thing. And Terry goes through a gate, and because it's on skid steer, he puts a skid steer and swings it round and whacks the bloody stone wall. Bang! Breaks 2 furrows clean off the back of the... Well, I just thought that was hilarious because like you thought I was shit. You did that, and it wasn't, there wasn't much spoken.
Funny. If I recall, you mentioned the crops growing twice as fast as back home, despite the miserable weather. Do you remember what went through your head at the time observing that?
I didn't know what was going on. I just couldn't believe it, that the speed of what was happening. Like I turned up, we said, we're getting ready for harvest, and I looked at those crops aren't anywhere near ready. They'll be a month away.
Sure.
And the following week, you're out there doing tests. They're ready to go. And I go, there's something strange going on here.
It must have absolutely shaken what you'd learnt about climate and photosynthesis.
It did. The speed, everything just was ramped up.
Wow.
Just incredibly.
Wow.
And that did. It just bloody shook me. Because I was looking at the production they were getting, and I'm going, this is better than at home or, on par. And they're doing it in a short time. And I was like, something really strange going on with this. And that was a really, really big wake-up call for me. And certainly back here in this country, when you look at Southland and people go down there and they get better production than they do in the Waikato, you're going, there's something going on because the weather's shit down there. And, you see the season.
It's an interesting parallel.
Absolutely.
With Southland, yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's very much the same.
Are these latitude parallels almost?
Absolutely.
Like equivalent to how far north as how far south?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, London is, I think, if you look at it from Invercargill, it's 150 miles further south. It would be.
Versus the equivalent north on the northern hemisphere. I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So you're a fair way down. And then when you think of Scotland going even, like it's a long way.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the Pacific Ocean current coming up, it'd be,
Yeah, Dunedin really is the Scotland of the south, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about Welsh wisdom and farming tricks. Wales sounds like a riot. Homebrew, rugby, dodgy subsidy schemes and all. What struck you most about Welsh farmers, how they operated compared to Kiwi ones?
Again, it was all about the paradigm that they were in. They operated within the paradigm. Okay, right. And so it was really one of the first things that happened before I left England and went away. They said, what are you going to do next? And I said, I'm going to go on holiday and go to Bearfest, but I'm going to go to Wales and play rugby down there. I don't know about those Welsh. They're funny people. And so you get down there and they go, well, so what have you been doing? I was working on an English cropping farm. They go, those English, they're funny people. So their own paradigms of looking how people dealt with things in different ways.
And each other.
Yeah. That was their own growing up and their paradigms of how they did stuff and things.
It totally pulls into the class system again.
Yeah, and it's what you're used to.
Yeah.
Like, it was hilarious. I remember one day when we were in Bedford, wanted to use the telephone or something, and Gilbert, he was a good bugger, and he would help, and he'd have a laugh with you and all that sort of stuff. And if you wanted a bank account, he'd help. He was genuinely a nice guy. He'd been the High Sheriff of Bedfordshire, but he was a nice guy, and you could have a chat with him about stuff, which was good because he was interested in what we had done, because he was going, well, you guys have come from another side of the world. What do you do? We have a chat about it. But we went across the road, and I remember going we want to use the phone. And his wife go, oh, we'll come round to surf and see. So like we weren't.
Really?
Yeah, totally. And I'm going, what the hell's that all about?
That would annoy me.
Well, it was what's going on with that? And that part of it rubbed off on the son. And he was a complete nutter twat in that regard, that he just thought.
Quite unlikable.
Yeah. Well, he was really obnoxious and thought he was better than everyone else and all this other sort of stuff. And I was like, And it was really interesting. There was on the cropping farm, they had a seed dressing plant. And so other farmers were bringing that in, and that was part of the job. They were there. We would screen the seed and treat it and put it in bags and send.
This is a service for other farmers on the farm.
That's right. Well, that was one of the main reasons that we were actually there, because to run that and do the cropping.
Sure.
Yeah. And various people came and went through the whole process, different farmers dropping it off and workers and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Some of them were just so obnoxious. God, it was unbelievable. Their nose was so far in the air, and their hunter wellies and their wax skirts and
Wow.
And others were, g'day, do you want to come play rugby and eat down the road? So some of them were really cool, and then there was this.
That's funny, can I just say, thinking of all the farmers that turn up here at the Authentic Farmer Studio, everyone's just cool.
Yeah.
And they're all from different places. Yeah, it's fascinating contrast.
Yeah, I think we just attract cool people, Steve.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Better get to my next question. God, you got me there. That story about cows eating hay stacked on silage, fascinating. What lessons did you take from the way they recycled everything and maximised grass growth?
They'd used this system, and they worked out how it worked and what was going on, and they'd done a great job with it. They were making plenty of money, and it was hard to know how much they were making and how much they were sort of making out that they were poor in way too, because some people had really good Land Rovers and others had ones that wheels fell off, and
but you couldn't tell who was rich and who was poor.
No,
despite that,
no, because some people just bought old shitty gear because that's what they did, because that's what they were brought up used to doing, and that was the whole thing about the
it's
whole.
Kind of true here.
Yeah, it's the whole journey right through life. It's like you watch where people came from and their behavioural patterns, and it's like we get caught in that process, and we've just sort of got to break out of that if we want to, not be the same as it. That's all right if you want to be the same. Yeah, but if you don't like it, do something about it.
Yeah, tell me about this character Hugh and the sheep subsidy rorts. Was it all just for sport, or do you think those schemes were simply fair game in a broken system?
They were fair game, I can tell you. They were just hilarious, honestly. It's just because the people in the ministry didn't tend to speak Welsh.
Right. That'll get them.
And being down where we were, there was a lot of people that spoke Welsh.
Yeah.
The farmers and that spoke Welsh. And I'm sure they were taking the piss out of them when they were standing here.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have the foggiest idea what they said, but neither did the ministry.
The officials from London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just it was hilarious watching what was going on, and the sly, just the nod and the wink and the, bits and pieces. And it was just like being at a rugby game.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was just, what happened? Who paid the ref?
Yeah. All right, well, let's get to the funniest part of this episode. You calling in a cow with your calf impression. When I played it, I got a few laughs in the room. Still one of the best DIY animal husbandry hacks I've ever seen or heard. Did you earn real respect with the Welsh crew at that time, or just more pints?
Look, the places where I went, they really appreciated that you got in and got stuck in and got things done, and you were willing to give it a go. and you're willing to ask questions and whatever. And so I got on really well with the people I worked with on those places and learnt quite a bit and did a whole lot of weird shit that they didn't sort of, I remember fixing up some stuff to a post knocker. And I said, "Where's your welder?" "Oh, I'll take it back to the engine." I said, "Where's your bloody welder?" "Why?" So I pulled the welder out and I had this thing done. And where'd you learn to do that? And I was like, at home, but they were really nice people and they just had their particular ways and watching the whole process. And it was just a fascinating time of life. A lot to observe and met a lot of people from the process.
It's true, though, that Kiwis arrive in places like the UK with a vast set of skills that maybe are just from our whole cultural thing of you have to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, well, certainly from where I'd come from, it was, highly appreciated. And I never worked in the pub. I just drank there.
Yeah. So let's talk about subtle observations and big realizations. You talked about grass growing like mad, right, on those cold, cloudy days. What was the first time your observation radar really started pinging on that something deeper was going on with soil and nature?
Look, when you're getting on a tractor and you're having to put a coat on to keep warm and the grass is still growing faster than you've seen it grow at home, there's something going on. Yeah. And I remember being on the top of this hill with a David Brown with his silage chopper, and I was rugged up. It was bloody cold, and you cut it, and a day or two later it was back. It was growing, and it was just, to me, this is midwinter temperatures, and it's growing faster than I've ever seen it grow in the Waikato.
Would you say that's achievable here?
It's different. And what we have to get used to is like the same as what I see in the South Island now. It's like when you really understand that we are an electromagnetic dynamo, the Earth is, and it has the seasons and they balance out. What people should understand is that our production can be better where we are here, and it can be much better, say at Invercargill or in Wales as well, but it's understanding the parameters, what causes it. See, like in what we've learned here is that I can get 0.25 of a volt running east-west with a couple of milliamps in our soils when it's functioning in springtime. I can get 0.6 of a volt in Invercargill. And the magnetic field of the Earth, ours is 0.4 of a Gauss up here. In Invercargill, it's 0.6. So the correlative between electromagnetic force and electrical production is just, And so when you get to Wales, like the highest I've got up to Wales was 1.5 volts. I mean, you just have to put your finger in a light bulb and turn it on.
Wow.
Now, we will never, I don't think I'll see it in my life, maybe, that we'll see that higher of electrical current in this latitude. But what I have seen is that if you turn that on with the right circumstances, you can actually grow a lot of grass. But you don't necessarily grow it at the same seasons they do at the lower latitudes. See, like ours is more even, like a big wave going through, where theirs is like boom, up, along, and then boom, down again as it goes back to really cold, short days. So they grow as much or more than us. Well, they should, we should be able to keep up with them. But ours is a different pattern, and that's just what we got to get used to. It's like,
but it is achievable. But it can be turned on, as you say,
absolutely,
under the right conditions.
Absolutely.
This is some out there ideas for some people, though, right? They wouldn't have even heard of this.
That's right. They haven't. But I mean, the thing is,
spoiler alert. There's more coming on this.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. Like look. You go to Invercargill, you can see it. You've got a Gauss. Some of the phones have got Gauss meters on them now. They're 0.6 of a Gauss, and you measure the electrical current. There's a lot of influence about the seasonality in that, and you can improve that vastly. And when you do, you will up the grass growth tremendously.
Okay. Jumping questions a bit. I can't help but feel this relates to the one we just recorded in chapter 1, where I mentioned, go back 200-300 years and the innate wisdom of people had on the land there. Now, you're in the Northern Hemisphere. The farm you worked on had records dating back to the 1500s. So how did standing on land with that much history affect you as a young farmer from New Zealand?
that blew me away.
Yeah?
That history in going around and looking at these castles and what, because we got no history like that.
Nothing like it.
Nothing like that, no. That really blew me away.
What sort of records, what would they say?
Oh, look, it was written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't read it, was in Welsh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Still, they're going to have, like, in this season, this was done. Then this came out. This was the output of our land. These were the things we did. So you can sort of follow step by step.
Yeah, well, I guess back in the day, they weren't probably so production orientated and market based. But obviously they had to sell cattle and sheep and what. But I guess my penchant for the law is really showing the history and where you actually see where a lot of this stuff went to in the community based and all this sort of stuff. Because I remember there's one law in England up until about 1845, 50, a butcher was not allowed to own more than 100 acres of land.
Really?
He could not corner the market.
Okay, sort of anti-competitive.
Well, it did
monopoly stuff.
Yeah, that's right. You couldn't monopolise a market.
Kind of seems like a good rule in a way.
Oh, I think it's a great rule.
Yeah.
In a way, but like the thing is that I can't even remember the name of the law. I found it here in this country where they actually gave free run to the companies, which is like the City of London, that to actually manage this take full control. And this is what's happened with our what's happened with that agriculture and the fisheries, and that is that these big businesses have taken over, and they don't protect the farmer. They just see you as a serf on the land. And that's what I did see of some of the behaviour of the English and the class system and their attitude to the farming side of things. That's where I saw stuff there that wasn't present in the Welsh. But
what do you mean? That's where you saw stuff like what?
Look, this is where people think that they're better than you.
Okay.
And they've got an advantage over you, and they will use it to their benefit. And what they don't realise is the detriment to the whole of society by doing that. And like when someone comes along with a really good idea and it starts to work and it can improve production and do this, that, and the other thing, our natural response would be, God, can I have some of that? Where there are people there, and that was the first time I saw it, where people had power and authority. If they didn't like you, I don't give a shit how good you are. Get out.
And you were gone.
Yeah, you're gone.
Yeah, that's power.
And I saw that here, and that's what I've seen through the law.
Wow. Well, you mentioned the salmon disappearing from the River Taff. Taff?
Yeah.
And you connect that to post-war lime use. So was that one of the first times you started piecing together how farm practices affect whole ecosystems? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that was something that I could see. They were just starting to use a little bit of nitrogen on the surrounding farms before we did back here. But I could see something was there was little subtle things, even though with all these amazing things that happened. And I can genuinely say I was there, Live Aid and Chernobyl.
Whoa, wow! And
going back there regularly, I can tell you that Chernobyl had a huge effect on the farming.
Really?
Really big.
Through trade winds and things.
When that radioactivity, there was stuff in Wales where they could actually run a Geiger counter over a sheep and it would go bzzz.
Radioactive sheep, that's interesting.
Yes, yeah, they had a very good frizz, yeah. Honestly, there was places they could not.
So that must have been a bit scary, hey?
Well, we didn't know. I mean, that's the thing. I came home shortly after that, and never realised how much of that radioactivity got down through the Welsh countryside. But it was huge. But
the whole point about radioactive sheep is they're ingesting what's in the land, and that's going up through them, and then ultimately we're ingesting them, and
but I saw the production fall.
Right.
Okay, so like from being there and the health and everything, what I saw when I got there when I was 20 years old, as I carried on going back there, I saw things falling off. And I now know that radioactivity had a major effect. And in Wales, it actually showed me one of the beautiful things was we went to this piece of the country called Freeth land, unimproved, just natural, covered in magic mushrooms and all that. And the sheep and the cattle 20 years later were the same as when I first went there. And these cattle were healthy and the sheep were healthy. It didn't look like they were eating much, and this was unimproved land. And this is where I got introduced to the work of Paul Stamets, and we'll see that further through the book, where these fungal species could break down the radioactivity. They could actually use it as energy. And so nature had a way of fixing this up. And on that particular piece of ground, I go, whoa, that's like Wales used to be all over. And so you saw the drop-off. And what had happened as it dropped off and people started using synthetic products and bits and pieces, then they didn't sustain the natural fungal population in the soil, and then they couldn't remedy what had happened.
Fascinating.
It was just another one of those, oh my good God, look what's happening there.
Yeah, Paul Stamets' work has been amazing.
Brilliant, man.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yep.
So the monks from Tenby, they knew how to burn lime to make it more reactive. Do you think we've forgotten a lot of old wisdom in modern agriculture?
Absolutely.
Whilst calling ourselves scientific?
Look, science is bought.
Sport?
No, it's bought.
It's bought.
It's bought.
Yeah.
It's been bought.
Yeah.
It's totally been bought. And the beautiful thing about today is what we're doing right now, is you can talk about what you've done. And people go, oh, what do you know about it? And you say, look, I'll find you the paper if you want to go and research this, or you want to just punch in Google and put these words in, and the paper will come up, or you'll do this here. And whether that's nickel, cobalt, iodine, selenium, silica, hydroxides, but you can go and find them in an instant. And so if you're taking tests on the farm, soil tests, herbage tests, and whatever, and you want to know, you just up comes the information.
Yeah.
So as long as you've got parameters to work by, we don't need to go to university to get taught farming. In fact, we're better off to stay out of it.
Yeah. Well, like in some regards, from what I'm learning here, for sure. Yeah.
And genuinely, if we are to enhance our capacity on the farms, we're better to keep away from that, because the market is actually in touch with us these days because of the technology.
Yep.
And you can actually start to put this information out. And we do a lot of work with small block holders and that sort of stuff. And they're generally not commercial farmers when they've come from town, but they're actually quite fascinated. Why are my animals unhealthy, and why are they're actually asking more questions. And when you start talking to them, they think, wow. Well, you could
also possibly argue that they have less inbuilt programming of the right way to do things, because they just know nothing and they start from that starting point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Looking back, how pivotal was this overseas chapter to the rest of your journey? Did it light a fire for experimentation, questioning assumptions, digging deeper?
I think it was part of the whole process. Yeah, the ability to become self-reliant or stay self-reliant, because I walked away from the farm, just went and got on with it. If you wanted to go somewhere, that was what you did.
Yep.
So you realise that, okay, you can be independent in this big wide world, but also know that there's a whole lot of people on the other side of the world that are quite similar.
Yeah. And
so enjoyable to go and have a look at all that sort of side of things.
Yeah.
Critical, really, on the further thinking, especially the electromagnetics, the poles, the daylight length, the growth, and all that become really pivotal down the track.
Yeah, amazing actually, in terms of all the OEs I've ever heard people go on, and for a farmer to do what you did, furthering that experience, it's pretty cool.
Follow along with your own hard copy of the book from efa.nz, or listen to the audiobook on Spotify and Audible.